People with an INFJ personality type live in a world that is sometimes described as complex, and they are regularly faced with a variety of complex situations that at first look may seem contradictory. Rather than being paradoxical, these difficulties highlight how complex the INFJ personality is. This investigation explores 8 distinguishing features that sum up what it means to be an INFJ, providing insight into the special interaction of characteristics that characterizes this personality type. By using these lenses, we hope to shed light on the complexity and richness of the INFJ experience and provide insight into its inner workings, which are truly understood only by individuals who identify as INFJs. Managing social introversion and warmth is the 7th step. INFJs strike a careful balance between being really warm and socially introverted. Even though they could be quiet in large social settings, they have a deep natural capacity to connect with people. This dynamic duality arises from their introverted disposition, which enables them to rejuvenate in isolation while genuinely forming significant relationships. The warmth of the INFJ is not a facade. Rather, it is an outward manifestation of their sympathetic core, which helps them form strong bonds with those who share their ideals. This paradox draws attention to the delicate dance that exists between social connection and isolation, highlighting the ability of the INFJ to both enhance their own inner world and provide warmth and authenticity to the relationships they choose to build. 6th, finding a balance between realism and idealism. Idealism and realism interact dynamically in the INFJ personality type. Although INFJs are admired for their idealistic ideals, this trait is not limited to unrealistic fantasies. Rather, it acts as a catalyst for real change. This dual character shows the capacity to both pragmatistically navigate the difficulties of reality and to imagine a better world. Their idealism is a deliberate strategy to bring about significant changes, not a passing fad. This feature demonstrates the special potential of INFJs to close the gap between ambition and reality by transforming idealistic visions into doable actions that promote change. It demonstrates how INFJs can use their idealism as a potent instrument for grounded and meaningful pursuits rather than being lost in utopian illusions. The way they balance idealism and realism demonstrates how deeply pragmatic their desire is to make a significant difference in the concrete areas of their ambitions. To put it simply, idealism and realism are not mutually exclusive, but rather a harmonious combination that drives INFJs to make significant contributions to the concrete aspects of their vision for a better society. 5th, establishing limits and controlling empathy. The INFJ personality type is a complex mosaic that includes a subtle dance between empathy and setting boundaries. INFJs have a strong sense of empathy that goes beyond simple comprehension. It's a visceral affinity with other people's feelings. But this sensitivity doesn't mean that they treat partnerships with a lack of self-preservation. INFJs show a discernible capacity to set limits. They understand the importance of self-care without sacrificing their core empathy. This interaction demonstrates the delicate dance that must be done between protecting one's own emotional health and creating strong emotional bonds. Rather, from being a contradiction, it emphasizes how INFJs can navigate meaningful connections while preserving a positive sense of self. This facet highlights the dynamic balance between empathy for others and the discernment to maintain emotional distance, exposing a thorough comprehension of interpersonal dynamics. This aspect of the INFJ experience essentially highlights their skill at striking a balance between the need to set boundaries and the depth of empathy. It proves that true connection not only can coexist with self-preservation, but is actually improved by the discernment to walk the tightrope between creating meaningful connections and protecting oneself. 4th, handling, understanding, and steering clear of misunderstandings. Examining the INFJ experience further uncovers a unique feature pertaining to insight and possible misinterpretation. One characteristic that makes INFJs unique is their acute understanding of the feelings, intentions, and interpersonal dynamics of others around them. The depth of their insight, though, may cause misconceptions, thus this enhanced comprehension can be a double-edged sword. INFJs frequently struggle to appropriately communicate their deep comprehension and occasionally run into misunderstandings or misinterpretations from other people. This aspect of their personality highlights the delicate balance between keen perception and the difficult work of skillfully conveying their complex understanding to prevent erroneous conclusions. This feature, far from being paradoxical, illustrates the complex process INFJs go through to strike a balance between their deep insights and the requirement for open and honest communication. It highlights their ongoing struggle to close the gap between their internal knowledge and their outward expression, while avoiding the dangers of being extremely perceptive in a society that might not always be able to appreciate the subtleties of their perceptions. This aspect of the INFJ experience, taken as a whole, essentially sheds light on the skill of converting profound insights into understandable language, highlighting the complex task of being both deeply perceptive and effectively understood in the wide range of human relationships. Third, developing relationships while accepting independence. The INFJ personality type has a complex structure that has an intriguing interaction between connection and independence. Despite their reputation for being independent, INFJs have a strong desire to have meaningful relationships with other people. This dual character is evidence of their capacity to preserve their feeling of independence while establishing meaningful, genuine relationships rather than a contradiction. It draws attention to the complex dance that exists between actively seeking connection and cherishing independence, demonstrating the ability of INFJs to strike a careful balance between their independence and the nourishing web of interpersonal relationships. INFJs balance these apparently opposite tendencies, acknowledging the significance of autonomy within the context of authentic human connection, as opposed to being split between competing desires. This facet of the INFJ experience highlights the richness that results from the peaceful coexistence of independence and connection, illuminating their particular path of self-discovery and connection. Building. INFJ's independence is really a calculated move toward developing more meaningful and genuine connections rather than an isolationist posture. It highlights their capacity to welcome isolation without giving in to loneliness, striking a careful balance between their uniqueness and the meaningful relationships that give their life depth and purpose. Keeping emotional depth and surface. Level engagement in check is number 2. Examining the complex INFJ personality type reveals an intriguing aspect related to emotional complexity and surface-level communication. INFJs are known for their deep emotional intelligence, but they frequently have to navigate a world where surface-level interactions rule the day. Their capacity to delve into profound emotional realms while participating in the more banal conversations that characterize social interactions is highlighted by this paradox. This feature, far from being a contradiction, emphasizes how flexible INFJs can be when deciding when to engage in superficial interactions versus when to really explore their emotional environment. It demonstrates their ability to know when to enter deep emotional relationships and when to politely stay on the surface of informal social interactions. INFJs skillfully blend the deep and the commonplace in the fabric of their experiences, understanding the importance of both in the complex dance of human relationships. This aspect of the INFJ experience highlights their nuanced perception of emotional closeness and highlights a dynamic approach that incorporates both breadth and depth in their social relationships. Essentially, INFJ's emotional depth doesn't make them stand out. Rather, it enhances their capacity to interact honestly on a variety of levels, resulting in a patchwork of relationships that accurately represent the wide spectrum of human experiences. First on the list, adjusting to change without sacrificing one's moral principles. The interaction of flexibility and integrity is a characteristic feature of the INFJ personality type. INFJs are renowned for their adaptability in handling a variety of circumstances and for having a solid, unshakable foundation of personal integrity. This dual quality shows their capacity to change without sacrificing their core beliefs and ideals. Rather than being a contradiction, it demonstrates how the INFJ can adapt to the constantly shifting circumstances of life without straying from their moral principles. This flexibility goes beyond simple compliance, highlighting their ability to shift in reaction to outside circumstances without compromising their unwavering dedication to being honest. The INFJ's flexibility is essentially a deliberate and strategic decision to negotiate life's challenges while upholding their own moral compass rather than a capitulation to outside forces. This facet of the INFJ experience highlights their adaptable attitude to change, exhibiting a well-balanced combination of adaptability and steadfast personal values. It emphasizes their capacity to deal with life's ups and downs without sacrificing the essential principles that make them who they are. The journey of the INFJ is characterized by a deliberate dance between integrity and adaptation, demonstrating the strength that results from accepting change while staying firmly rooted in a set of sincerely held principles. A fascinating tapestry of paradoxes and harmonies emerges from the complex layers of the INFJ personality, highlighting the genuineness, depth, and adaptability that characterize being an INFJ. It's a journey characterized by the ongoing weaving together of contradictory parts, leading to a dynamic and multidimensional self-expression within the complex terrain of human interaction.